We are the generation that's all about that cozy yet Instagram worthy vibes. Our homes are like a reflection of our personalities, blending comfort with a touch of trendiness. From DIY wall art to succulents in every nook, we are all about that boho chic meets modern minimalist vibe, creating spaces that are not just for living, but for thriving. Our spaces are not just Pinterest boards come to life, but most often than not, we are seen choosing something that is more practical over aesthetic. So here's to us, the millennial decorators, turning four walls and a roof into a canvas of memories, laughter, and unmistakable style. Welcome to All Things Millennial. I'm your host Sujal, and I'm inviting you to join me in some very engaging conversations with fellow millennials and uncover the answers to the questions that resonate with almost all of us. Today's episode is definitely a subject of my interest. It is about interior design trends, home decor tips, multifunctional design solutions, and much more. Today's guest is an architect and an interior designer by profession. She has the most gorgeous studio in Ahmedabad, and she specializes in interior design services for residential, commercial, and hospitality projects. Her expertise and her work got featured in ElleDecor, Hometrends, and other platforms too. She definitely knows a thing or two when it comes to transforming spaces. So guys, I'm very excited to welcome Shivani Bhandari. Hi, Shivani. Thank you so much for joining us today. I briefly talked about your practice and your specialty when it comes to interior design in the intro. But why don't you give our audience a quick glimpse into your background, your venture that is Shivani Bhandari Design, and talk about your practice?
Shivani Bhandari Design is a young interior designing firm that is providing services in residential, commercial, hospitality interiors. We are right now based in Ahmedabad, city of India, and we are executing projects pan-India as of now. We believe true design is more than the skin and treatment, and it is also a continuous process of interaction with nature that keeps in mind human needs, yet gently pushes us out of our comfort zone. So, what we are trying to do is we kind of envisage a skyline of future that lives by this vision that art is an undeniable part of design. And the studio's core ideology revolves around this idea.
Okay, no, that's really interesting. And I really agree with your perspective on that. Because while creating a space for ourselves, it's very important to keep in mind the design because it kind of ties into our ideologies too. It's not just about how your space looks, but it's about how your space makes you feel, right? So, yeah, I really, as a millennial, it's very important to create a space that is stylish, yet very functional. So, can you share some general principle or tips for creating a space that is very stylish or aesthetic and is very practical at the same time?
For someone who is in their 30s, functionality in space should be balanced, not only in terms of aesthetics, but there are certain factors like layouting that can be ideally zoned in terms of space distribution. There are certain color schemes that can be maintained, and something where lighting is particularly highlighted. So, let's say you have large windows that bring in generous amount of natural light, where I feel natural light plays an equally important role in turning a space into a much better planned area, in spite of the fact that it is somehow neglected. So, wherever we have the availability of natural light, we should consider that. And I feel it just gives a more stronger connection with the desire that we have to have an open environment.
I mean, I am a big sucker for a huge window and natural light, especially as you know, I live in Canada and we get a lot of snow and cold most of the year. And that's why it's very important to seek natural light, or when there are windows, to use them to the most or the maximum capacity. So I really like your point. It's a great take on something that's already there and using it. But when you're looking at trends, interior design can come with a lot of trends. Sometimes this is in and then it goes out of fashion, or it goes out of trend in a couple of years. So right now, according to you, what are the interior design trends that are very popular among millennials or people who are approaching their 30s or are currently their 30s?
I feel millennials nowadays, they are very tech savvy. And on the other hand, they also prefer inclusivity with spaces around them. So we see a lot of personalized DIY projects that are happening. So let's say, even if you have a very simple canvas that is painted and kept in your living room next to a shelving that is personalized in a way that you pick your own decor and just keep changing it with time. So such smaller DIY trends are quite popular nowadays.
I was into DIY quite a lot when I moved here, because there were a lot more things available to, you know, uh, use in terms of doing your DIY decor. But I mean, I have fallen out of it for sure, because there's IKEA, there's so many places where you can go and buy comparatively affordable stuff. But I agree, there are so many DIY projects I have on my Pinterest board saved that I really want to try when I get a chance to do so. But thanks, Shivani. That's really insightful. And I know we touched base on this a little bit earlier, but how can people our age dive into aesthetic plus practicality when it comes to their living space when they have kids or, young children? Are wide sofas a big yes or a big no when it comes to that?
So, if you have kids or pets at home, it is very important to choose durability. So, it could be in terms of using easy to clean fabrics, it could be in terms of stain resistant materials, or it could be, if you're beginning your project, in terms of choosing your flooring very aptly. So, for starters, I could say that using stone or vitrified flooring, using microfiber sofas, using leather fabrics, certain things can be done where, if you're also planning your furniture, uh, considering kids in mind, you can reduce on the sharp edges. So a little curving on the edges can be done. And there could be dedicated zones for play areas, both for kids as well as pets in your apartment or in your bungalow. And other than that, I think washable and durable paints are available in the market. So there are walls where you can just cover the accessible areas with those kind of paints, which will help you out to clean the spill marks very easily. So I think just these tips would help for beginning the project.
Those are some great practical tips, I must say. And I think that was the reason of bringing someone professional on the show, just to talk about the practical stuff that we as a novice would not know about, design. And I know when my sister had kids, she spent so many hours just trying to baby-proof the apartment so that the kids don't get hurt on their head while playing around. And I agree about the pointed edges and rounding them out, and everything else was really insightful. So people like me or so many millennials and Gen Xers out there are often living in smaller apartments, or they are just starting out their own spaces. I came out of living in an apartment with so many people. I share a big house with quite a few people right now too. So it's very important to know about space saving and organizing along with aesthetics again. So what are some space saving or organizing tips uh, that you follow, or maybe you can give to our listeners?
There could be some affordable ways if you're a millennial and you're in your early 30s. So since we as a studio, we execute varied amount and range of interiors. We start from budget projects to luxury projects. There are some points that can transform spaces, like the kind of paint you use, the kind of lighting you put, and the choice of fabrics you do. So these three other very accessible points that can be incorporated in any space that you want to create. And the one thing that I love the most is putting a lot of grates. So the moment you add plants, any space just freshens up, and you put some DIY decor that can be done, let's say, on some accent walls, can be painted. There could be some old furniture that can be given a fresh paint and it can be reused. So certain things not readily available in the market need to be bought every time, but there could be some different way of using and creating the same space.
Agreed about the plants. I'm a huge indoor plants person. I have bought so many plants, taken care of them, and I can say if you put a plant anywhere, even in the dullest room in your house, it will just take the design up a notch, like just in a second. And I absolutely agree about that, especially here in Canada, or I can talk about the entire North America for that matter. There are so many affordable options or DIY projects that you can pursue. Or I mentioned a little bit about IKEA earlier, and there are so many options that are actually being used by millennials or people who are just starting out. They have some huge affordable options, or even Amazon for that matter. I have bought my writing desk from Amazon. I don't regret it. It looks beautiful. And it's affordable, especially when you are just starting out. There are few things in the market, or you can just try doing things yourself. And I would say just keep an eye out for it, right? So moving to my next question, this can be answered best by you. After COVID era, so many of us are into remote work, or we have adopted so many new hobbies. So how can interior design reflect the changing lifestyles and needs of the people in their 30s or late 20s when they have adopted remote work or different hobbies?
So currently we are seeing a lot of people already converting a spare bedroom to study desks or study areas. And we suggest having a space that has, again, ample amount of sunlight. You can have a small study desk. You can have a pin board or a writing board next to your desk. And it can be simply planned where some open shelving is there for books or artifacts. You can have a sofa come bed for taking quick naps in the afternoon along with your work. So a space need not be very huge in size, but even a smaller guest room or a kids room can be converted to a work from home area for yourself.
I know I've seen a trend of using spaces to create a home gym, because I know so many people got into working out during the COVID era. So even like, again, talking about my sister, she converted this whole little corner in her basement into a home gym. She has a treadmill, she has some weights, and it's a safe space for people to just use their, unused bedroom or unused space. And even I am currently in some corner of my basement trying to work on this podcast. So, agreed. And thank you so much for your tips again. So, moving on to my next question, are there any specific color palettes or materials that work well for creating a timeless interior design or a contemporary design that would age with people, right? And they just don't go out of style really easily.
So, there are neutral and lighter shades of color palette, and there are some finishes in terms of natural wooden finishes. These kind of colors and materials are always timeless, according to me. Let's say you have a stone in the form of marble or granite, which would always give you a sense of luxury. You can have metal and glass for partitions. You can do panels with the same material. You can have backsplashes that can be experimented with different sorts of combinations and patterns. So, whenever we want to design a particular project, the kind of material palette will become a very strong point to address all the needs of the family or the client that we are heading towards. Because mm, with materials and the choice of colors that you have, or what we discussed above, all of these little factors, the entire environment, the entire visualization of a space can be changed.
No, that's amazing, and I agree to that. But like, can you talk about a project, or can you give us examples of what a multifunctional furniture or design solution would look like for ideally for people in their millennial era? Because I know as a millennial, I value versatile interior design or trends. So yeah, if you are able to give us some examples, it would be great.
So, there are some doable furniture pieces that can really help saving space because the way the real estate is booming right now, the apartment sizes that we used to have earlier are shrinking definitely. So, let's say in a given room, you can just experiment with the furniture style. It could be in terms of let's say an expandable dining table. It could be in terms of B Murphy bed. It could be in terms of something that has a fold out desk. It could be in terms of a nesting table that can be just stacked and just, kept in one corner. The moment you take it out, you use it as a stool. Or there are some dividers that have storages in itself, and you can just bring them out whenever you want to take fold your table, or you want to open out the furniture and just use it in terms of seating. So a lot of permutations can happen in terms of storages, in terms of aesthetics, and in terms of maintaining stylish and functional interiors. So it can all be balanced.
And yeah, I agree to that. And talking about balance, like so many people are nowadays not into buying their own furniture, especially when they are starting out. They are looking for some sustainable practices that they can follow just to be, just so that it's more affordable and they are doing their part on saving the environment. Like here, it's very normal for us to thrift furniture pieces, especially when it's coming from a clean home. I wouldn't mind picking up a desk that I could use, especially if it's cheaper or secondhand. So, what are some environmentally conscious practices that you have seen amongst millennials that are trending right now?
Not just millennials. I feel sustainability, the entire idea, we should be associating with spaces that are resource efficient. So something that always has eco-friendly materials. For example, you're using reclaimed wood, you're using bamboo, you're using cork, you're using low VOC paints. Um, so these are volatile organic compound paints that do not harm your environment, less chemically strong. Um, there are appliances and energy efficient lighting that can be used in the home. Or while you're constructing your project, you can use waste reduction as a method. So whatever waste you are generating, you can sort of reuse it in the same project. So you do not end up discarding a lot of pieces of tiles, pieces of MDF, ply, hardwood, anything. But you sort of try to take a call as a designer to use it efficiently there and then. Because the moment you discard anything out of sight, it later becomes a waste for the other person. So you might as well figure out a way to reuse it. And you can also invest in durable items that will last longer for years, reducing the need for replacement. So the material and quality check can be done there and then.
I mean, investing in some good pieces that are not going to go out of style and are going to be used by you for years to come. I think it's a great way to incorporate sustainability in your design practice, especially as an individual, when even when you're not working with a professional designer, right? So that's great. Thank you so much for answering that. And talking about interior design for personal use, I mean, for me, it's very important that my room reflects my personality and is very personal to me. So, what are some creative ways to incorporate personal touches in your space?
In terms of personal touches, I feel a lot of DIY decor, like I spoke about, can be done. But other than that, you should be also having a choice of colors in terms of what exactly is your style. Are you wanting something that is very modern? In terms of technology, um, we can kind of use VR and AR, so virtual reality and augmented reality, to visualize the space. And we can also use 3D printing as a future for creating personalized elements. So we imagine a future where you are creating a nook for yourself just by 3D printing it. So it could be the next thing. And you can also have some smartly planned home automation. You can do smart home technology. You can do digital fabrics. And you can also have, there are available libraries on the internet to visualize interiors efficiently. So things like this, with the help of technology, can bring a lot of personalization. And we also have softwares that are all currently helping designers to access lighting, HVAC systems, energy efficiency analysis. So all of these key pointers can be mixed up and can be used as one. Also bringing in technology, not only by streamlining it, but also enabling more creativity and precision with the help of it. So you want to personalize, but then you can also be technologically ahead and do a little smarter way of adding that personalization.
Like like you mentioned everything about how to incorporate technology in modern day interior design. I was going to ask you about that, so I'm glad you kind of touched base on that as well. So tell us about some interior design home decor trends that are outdated and one should swap for more trendy options. I'm especially interested in knowing this the most.
So I feel nothing becomes outdated because I'm a person myself, I try to reuse a lot of existing context that is given to me. Let's say we were just talking about how I've reused the column at the back and just created a shelving next to it. So whatever is given, you should try to balance out by not discarding it away. But of course, there are some trends that I feel should just go off. Considering the matching furniture and decor, like you want to sync everything in one color, I feel that is quite outdated, and you want to just mix and match, different styles. You can add different colors. You should be able to create that oomph factor. So that, and of course, there's one forward paneling that I feel should really be banned because it needs like a solid replacement with it could be something as simple as a modern painted wall, or if you want to just do a wallpaper. So it could be minimal, not necessary. You want to just have that wooden feeling everywhere, making it a PVC wall. And we can also propose some versatile, neutral designs rather than creating those signature walls where, just one wall is very dark, painted in the entire home with a bright yellow or a blue. And it has a theme that is either nautical or it has a jungle theme. So, not necessarily we follow those themes, but we sort of bring in our own style of having neutral spaces. I feel that can be done.
I mean, I would personally agree to that. In India, my house where I used to stay earlier, now I live in a new place, but where I used to stay earlier, it was full of colors. So dark blue, dark yellow, gray, pink, everything was there. You asked for it, and there was a wall of that color. So I agree, people are choosing more minimalistic styles, but uh, yeah, I mean, glad you gave us that tips. As I told you earlier, I was really interested in knowing them. And I like to stay updated and stay current on interior design trends and ideas through many sources. I follow you. You have an amazing Instagram. I take inspiration from your projects, or there are so many other places too. So tell us about how, as a millennial, one can stay updated on interior design trends, and can you recommend any online resources, books, magazines that people can use to stay updated?
Personally, I feel, of course, there is Instagram that is having a very strong hold on the aesthetics part. So, a lot of designers are nowadays putting their work in a very professional manner. So, you can definitely find great tips from the designer pages uh, themselves. They talk about their studios, they talk about the spaces that they create, the products that they're working on. So, those things can be taken as an inspiration. But apart from that, you can also do online subscriptions. So there are websites like Design, or there are websites like Art Daily, who are so these websites are putting the current project trends forward, and they are very crisply covering the kind of projects that people are doing. So these websites can be subscribed. A lot of magazines, if you're an avid reader, you can just continue looking for Hometrends. If you're in India, you can look for Inside Outside magazine. You can look for Vogue. You can look for current trendy magazines that can help you out, putting some inspiration to the decor you're planning.
And I have seen you being featured on Vogue. There's ElleDecor, if I'm not wrong. So congratulations on that. I mean, it's well put, very well deserved. Um, and thank you so much, Shivani, for giving us so many practical tips that would definitely be more useful than anything. And even seeking inspiration from online resources But when there's some professional involved, it definitely makes a difference. So before I let you go, just tell us about your day in life. How does your regular work day look like? What do you do outside of work? And yes.
So, it's a very young practice that I have as of now. And the studio that I have is a home studio. So I'm still kind of trying to establish a work-life balance. Um, Also wanting to curb on my late night works because it's in home studio. I end up working late nights, and I just want to, have a routine for myself. But apart from my routine, yes, because there is not like a fine line between my weekdays and weekends, I try to have some activities that I can do, for adding that food for my soul thing. So I try to do gardening in the morning. I try some days if I can do yoga a little bit. I sort of try to paint whenever I have some spare time. I try to doodle. So that sometimes also becomes a little inspiration for the project that I'm doing. And sometimes I find a concept out of that little doodle. I do sometimes I read at night, fiction, non-fiction, something inspirational. But I love reading motivational books. I love memes. That's
Okay,
kind
that's
of
right.
taking me ahead. But usually, because site visits would take 2-3 hours of my day. Apart from site visits, when I'm coming to my studio, we have discussions on design ideas. We do detailing, we do space development. So the team and me, they work hand in hand. So I think my day just goes 24/7 for now. But I'm enjoying the process altogether.
Yeah, I mean, having your own practice does that to you, right? You are like making most of whatever time you have on hand. But I'm glad you're able to find time to do so many interesting things like doodling, yoga that I don't even think about it. So I'm glad you're doing that. Thank you so much, Shivani, for sharing your journey, your tips, and everything about you with us. It was glad having you on here. But yeah, I hope we stay in touch.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Sujan. It was great talking to you about your tips, your insights, your questions, the kind of content that you have generated. It was great knowing you as a person to have some interest in others' fields, trying to know what other people in the world are doing. It is, I think, a very great step in terms of beginning a new style, a new perspective to look at millennials and their way and what millennials can do. And we are people with the most energetic vibe. So we have a lot of potential, and people like you are kind of, bringing that out. So thank you so much for having me over to talk about things like this. It was very insightful, and I enjoyed the entire process. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words, Shivani. It means a lot. And yeah, I mean, I agree. Us as a generation, we have everything going on. We are definitely about trends, but we are also about culture. And I think that's what is the most beautiful about our generation. It's like a huge mix of everything. And that's why this show is about everything. This show is about everything that us as a millennial think about. So glad you were able to join with us. And I'll talk to you soon. As we conclude today's episode, I want to say thank you to each one of you for your time and support. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing. Stay connected with us on Instagram at allthingsmillennial_podcast. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, don't forget to leave a rating for the show. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep exploring, and keep being the amazing millennial that you are. See you in the next episode. Bye.